Hello, lovely artists. Today we're talking about meaning, something we associate with art. But can there be art without it? Let me ask you something uncomfortable. When was the last time you created something just because? Not to inspire, not to heal, not to explain your trauma, not to change the world. Just because you felt the urge to make it. Because somewhere along the way, creativity picked up a strange burden. A heavy one. Now, every piece of art has to mean something. Every story has to say something. Every painting needs a statement. Every song needs a message. Every post needs a purpose. And if it doesn't, people ask, but what's the point? So today I want to ask a dangerous question. Is our obsession with meaning quietly killing creativity? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, I think you'll see creativity very differently, and you might finally feel permission to create again. When meaning became a requirement. There was a time when art didn't have to justify its existence. A cave painting didn't come with an artist's statement. A folk song didn't explain its intent. A poem didn't apologize for being unclear. It just was. But today, meaning has become a gatekeeper. Before we even begin creating, a voice asks, what is this saying? What does this represent? Is this deep enough? Will people understand it? Will this make me look shallow? And suddenly, creativity doesn't feel playful anymore. It feels like a thesis defense. You don't sit down to explore. You sit down to perform significance. And that changes everything. Because meaning used to be something discovered after creation. Now it's something we demand before we even start. How meaning turned into pressure. Here's the subtle shift most people don't notice. Meaning used to emerge organically. Right? Now it's expected on command. And expectation kills curiosity. When you believe your work must carry a message, you start editing yourself prematurely. You don't follow the strange idea. You don't explore the weird metaphor. You don't trust the irrational impulse. You ask, where is this going? But creativity doesn't know where it's going. That's the whole point. Real creativity moves before understanding. The obsession with meaning forces the mind into control mode, while creativity lives in surrender. And when control enters the room, play quietly leaves. Meaning versus experience. Here's something we don't talk about enough. Not all art is meant to be understood. Some art is meant to be felt. Some art is meant to be experienced. Some art is meant to be confusing, annoying, seductive, or empty. But modern culture is uncomfortable with ambiguity. We want closure. We want explanations. We want everything labeled and summarized. So we treat art like a puzzle to solve instead of a space to enter. And when meaning becomes the goal, experience becomes secondary. But creativity doesn't originate from answers. It originates from sensation, intuition, and mystery. You don't create from meaning, you create from movement. The ego loves meaning. Let's talk about the ego for a moment, because it loves meaning. Meaning gives the ego a role. It says, this matters. This says something about me. This proves I'm insightful. This validates my suffering. And suddenly creativity becomes identity maintenance. Your work isn't just something you made, it's something that must represent you correctly. And that's exhausting. When creativity becomes self-definition, it loses freedom. You stop asking, what wants to come through me? And start asking, how will this be perceived? That's not creation, that's branding. Why beginners are more creative. Have you ever noticed something strange? Beginners are often more creative than experts. Children draw without caring what it means. They don't explain their drawings. They don't defend them. They just make marks. But adults? Adults want assurance. They want coherence. They want depth. They want justification. And in that process, something vital is lost. The beginner creates to explore. The expert often creates to confirm. The obsession with meaning is often just fear dressed up as sophistication. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of being judged, fear of being empty. Eastern philosophy had this figured out. This is where Eastern philosophy quietly laughs at us. In Zen, meaning is not something you chase. It's something that dissolves. A Zen koan isn't meant to be solved. It's meant to short-circuit the mind. Why? Because the mind wants meaning. But insight comes when meaning collapses. The Tao Te Ching begins with a warning. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. In other words, the moment you pin meaning down, you've already lost the real thing. Creativity works the same way. The more you try to explain it, the less alive it becomes. Art that was never meant to mean anything. Some of the most influential art in history didn't start with meaning. Jazz improvisation, abstract expressionism, Dadaism, surrealism. Many of these movements were reactions against meaning. They weren't asking, "What does this say?" They were asking, "What happens if I let go?" And ironically, meaning emerged anyway. But it emerged after creation, not before. That's the paradox. Meaning is a byproduct, not a prerequisite. Social media made it worse. Let's be honest. Social media accelerated this obsession. Now, every piece of art needs a caption, an explanation, a moral. You can't just post the work. You have to narrate it. And if you don't, people assume it's empty. But sometimes the explanation is just a safety net. A way to control interpretation, a way to avoid discomfort. Yet the most powerful art leaves room. It doesn't tell you what to feel. It invites you to feel something, anything. When meaning becomes a block. Here's the quiet tragedy. Many people don't struggle with creativity because they lack talent. They struggle because they're waiting for something meaningful enough to say. So they wait, and wait, and wait. But creativity doesn't begin with meaning. It begins with movement. You don't think your way into creation. You create your way into meaning. Waiting for meaning is often just procrastination disguised as depth. How to create without meaning. So what do? You reverse the order. Instead of asking, "What does this mean?" Ask, "What wants to move?" Instead of asking, "Is this deep?" Ask, "Is this alive?" Give yourself permission to create nonsense. Mess, fragments, unfinished thoughts. Trust that meaning will arrive later, or not at all. And that's okay, because not everything needs to be useful. Not everything needs to be profound. Not everything needs to heal someone. Some things just need to exist. The strange relief of meaningless creation. Here's what happens when you let go of meaning. You relax. You experiment. You take risks again. You stop trying to impress an invisible audience. You stop auditioning for approval. And creativity becomes playful, dangerous, alive. Ironically, this is when your work becomes most meaningful to others. Because it's honest. Because it's unforced. Because it's free. So, is the obsession with meaning ruining creativity? Not because meaning is bad, but because forcing it too early strangles the process. Meaning isn't the seed, it's the fruit. And if you keep digging up the soil to check whether the fruit is growing, nothing ever will. So here's the invitation. Create badly. Create blindly. Create without explanation. Let meaning chase you for once. If this resonated, sit with it. And if you're stuck creatively right now, maybe you don't need more insight. Maybe you just need permission to stop asking what it means and start making something that moves.